the hate army troll.
It's the hate army,
bro. Hate army.
Shout out to hate.
Good vibes to the
Shout
hate
out to
army.
hate.
Shout out to hate.
Shout out
Shout
for
out to
hate.
hate.
Shout out to hate.
Shout out for
Shout
hate.
out for hate.
Okay? Now, this is a normal work stream for me. So, if you do support the stream, thank you. My intention is that we keep that king streak going by hitting the tip skull, that I'll be able to shout out all of your contributions and things that you'll be doing during the course of this after Craig, you know, is done and we move on to the decompression session. So, thank you in advance to anyone. Already, I can tell you, I'm already receiving tips. Thank you for that. But I'm not doing any shout outs or anything like that until after Craig is out of here. And in fact, just to show that good faith, I'm getting rid of this. Okay? That doesn't need to be on the screen at all right now. And, and yeah, let's all be respectful of the man while he's here and you know, and let's get this done. This is a big part of everything going on right now. I think you guys understand really at this point what's been happening in the last month and a half with me. You know, last night during my live documentary reacting to the June the King documentary about myself, I revealed the truth about WWE champions for the first time ever. Like, literally everything I had said about it up to that point was a lie. It was the first time I had ever spoken truth about the situation. And already I can tell you there's fallout from that. I've had a couple people contact me behind the scenes saying that they're incredibly hurt and crushed that I lied and all this stuff. And, you know, that's what it's about, is you got to face the music for things that you've done wrong. And I did for years lie to my audience about stuff. And that's already over on the DSP Reacts channel. You could check that out right now, if you haven't seen it yet. But that's the whole point is let's get through all of this stuff. Let's finish it, because I am ready to fully move on to the next chapter of my life. I am. I'm ready. And even if that means fessing up and you know, some people are going to be like, nah, I don't forgive you because of this and this. I get it. But this all needs to happen for me to finally advance, you know? For me to pass level 1, which, I mean, let's be honest, people are like, you already have. But for me, I feel like I've been perpetually stuck in this one spot for a very long time. And the only way that I can get out of this spot is to essentially move past the baggage. And that's what we're trying to do. My hair has been sticking up like this for 3 days. It's bothering me. This right here, this patch has been sticking up for 3 days and will not go down no matter what I do. And I don't use hair gel. Usually it's not an issue. I don't know, maybe it grew out in a weird direction or something. I don't know. It's stupid. Why do I care about how I look, right? I'm dumb. Anyway, okay, hold on. I think I've done it, but hold on. I have to see if, well, I'm on screen. Now, how do I invite him? Hold on. Oh, hello, sir.
Hello, how are you?
Whoa. Oh, we cannot. Can anyone hear Craig? I cannot hear Craig, so let me see. I got technical issues here. Can you guys hear Craig? Because I can't hear him. No? Okay, hold on. Maybe he's muted. We can figure this out. Hold on.
See, fine.
You guys can't hear him? I can. Craig, I cannot hear you. We're not sure what's going on. It's not showing anything here. It's very odd because it's not playing audio through Discord either. Like, it's not showing you talking at all, as if your microphone's not working in Discord right now. See, if you were talking in Discord and it was working, the border around you would turn green. See how it turns green on me?
Let's try that. Is that better?
There you are. There you are. Cool.
There we go. I don't use Discord very often. So
it's all good.
Sorry
You've probably used it more than me, and I've made a million mistakes with this thing too. So two boomers, right? Trying to use technology like that.
Boomers.
Yeah, right. All right. So first of all, I think if I can make you a little louder, let's see, because
Here, hold on, I'll turn myself up real quick. Is that better
Okay.
on the mixer board? Is that better? Check, 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 check.
how's he sounding, guys? I can hear him now. Can you guys hear him?
Okay. Good.
Good.
All right.
Cool. All right. So think we're good. We're full screen.
Just like it feels like yesterday, Phil.
Which yesterday? When we were hanging out like 15, 16 years ago at MagFest, or yesterday when I was on your podcast. I mean, we actually have a history that a lot of people don't know the whole history. You know what I mean?
so I mean, I guess, but at the same, like, I got to be honest, 15, 16 years, I don't remember.
I know
much of that, right? So if you say we were hanging out, then we hung out. So I mean, we probably played a few games together, I would imagine, over the years. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I actually, if you remember, I was a guest at Screwtack Gaming Convention in 2012, 2013. I was actually a featured guest, and I even was one of the finalists at the Iron Man of Gaming competition you had.
The Iron Man of Gaming, yes. That was so far ahead of its time, while also still being 20 years too late.
People are saying your volume's still a little low. Is there any way you could boost it any more?
Yeah, sure. Let me see what I can do on my end. Let's see. So I don't use Discord very often, so let me kind of go into my settings here and check things out. Output volume. Let's see. How about this? Is that better? Did I boost me at all?
It sounds about the same, I think.
Okay, let me change this up. Here you go. Is this a little?
Uh-oh. Now you're muted.
I don't even. I'm still muted?
Now you're unmuted.
Okay. Well, I think this is what's gonna have to do right here.
All
Hey,
right.
look at there's a picture of me in your background. Look at that.
Of course. I've
Wow.
upgraded, sir. Look at my setup now.
Listen, I'll tell you what. What an upgrade. Great job. Awesome.
Well, thank you. All right.
Yes.
So let's get started, because I want to respect your time. I know that you might have stuff going on today. And just to forewarn everyone, and just to preface the whole conversation we're about to have, Stuttering Craig is on here today, and thank you for your time, Craig, for being on my Level 1 podcast, to have a conversation with me about last year, what happened with the events leading up to, including, and after my appearance on the Side Scrollers podcast, because there's been a lot of stuff said, all right, on my side particularly, for sure, and a lot of heated stuff I've said. Craig has responded on his content, and we never really sat down to have a conversation about it publicly. And I feel like this is the best way to do it, is to have a forum where we're just going to be cordial with each other. We're going to talk about it, hash it out, figure out exactly what happened, and figure out how to move forward from here. This is not an attack session on Craig. I've already said this right before Craig showed up, so I'm going to say it again, because now we're actually have him on the show. This is not, oh, I don't like Craig, let's all in the chat rally against him and insult him and stuff. This is not, oh, let's all take pot shots on Craig. There is no surprise guests that are going to show up. There is no shocking gotcha questions here. It's literally not about anything about Craig's background or nothing. This is about just our interaction last year. That's the point. And Craig, I want you to know that up front, because I know you had said that, of course, my detractors have to interject themselves into every piece of anything I'm involved in. And they've been contacting Craig saying, oh, he's going to get you. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. That's not going to happen. All right. But now, go ahead.
And that's great. I was going to say, and to be fair, I mean, I have invited you. I've tried to do this probably 3 or 4 times since the end of that show, to kind of have this exact conversation. So I am glad we're actually getting around to. Like I said, I said multiple times, I don't care if it's on our show or if it's on your show. I don't care. I think this is great. I'm glad we're able to.
All right, good. Now, that being said, I'd like to introduce Handsome Tom and Perfect Liz to the show. No, I'm just kidding. That's not happening.
Listen, honestly, I would love that. I would honestly love that. Great.
Okay, so I think what we should do to start the conversation is give a little bit of background about Craig, because a lot of people, on my show may not know, but Craig's been in this space for a very, very long time. Craig, in my opinion, was one of the innovators of making video game content on the internet. I mean, in the mid-2000s, right? You were making big view content on your Screw Attack website, and this was before the era of like YouTube being prominent and everything. Like, you were there in the forefront, covering video games, doing countdowns, news stories, going to conventions, doing all kinds of stuff. And you've always been a prominent person in that space. It's not like you've come out of nowhere now with the Side Scroller show in the last year. You actually have a history, a big established history of making very prominent content. That's how I knew Craig, is because I used to actually watch the Side Scroller show way back in the day, in the mid-2000s. And I was a fan of the Angry Video Game Nerd, who was associated with Screw Attack at the time. So that's kind of how I got turned on to their content and started watching. Over the years, I did have association with Craig and Screw Attack. For example, I went to, which I know Craig says he doesn't remember. I don't blame him. Way before I was even a YouTuber, I went to MagFest, this gaming convention, and we hung out like the whole time. Like I was with these guys and we were playing Street Fighter. We played Call of Duty together at the time. There was a Call of Duty competition, and we even judged a rock band competition together. I don't even know if you remember that.
Did we?
Yes, we did. We were
Wow.
both judges on the panel judging people doing rock band and stuff. It was fun.
Okay.
So that was like our first personal interaction. And then fast forward to years later, I was a YouTuber. I was a big YouTuber in the gaming space. I was like not top, but I was bringing in 10 million views a month on my DSP gaming channel. And I wanted to go to conventions and stuff. And I had contacted you when you said you were reviving the Screw Attack Gaming Convention. You were bringing it out of retirement. And I said, I would love to be there as a guest. And you had me as a guest. And let me tell you, Craig, you were the most gracious dude. Like, I knew that you didn't really remember me from MagFest at the time. You were like the most nice guy to me. You were there, and you had a table, a vendor booth, and there was a little misunderstanding about a vendor booth with someone else, and we hashed all that out. And basically, you were so cool. And so from my history of knowing you, Craig, you were just a really nice guy. You were a good guy in the gamer space, making this content. We hung out at MagFest. You were so personable. You're such a nice guy. Meet you at Screw Attack Gaming Convention. So all the history I know of you is that you're just a really solid dude, right?
So what changed? What changed, Phil? When did I become so irrelevant?
Oh, irrelevant. Not irrelevant. That's not, absolutely not. But basically, I want to preface this of how this whole thing came about, why I would even want to be on your show and stuff like that. So I heard, what was it? It was either late 2022 or early 2023. I heard through the grapevine, hey, Phil, did you hear that Side Scrollers is coming back? And I was like, no, I didn't know that. Let me check it out. So I actually did my research, and I saw that you had announced that you were going to bring back Side Scrollers. It was going to be a fun podcast about gaming and, all this stuff. And I got interested because I'm like, wow, that's cool. I used to listen to the show when it was audio only way, way back when, and it would be cool to see a revival. Now, I didn't know if you were going to have anyone back from the old show or anything, but I'm just curious. So I actually started listening to and watching your show when you revived it. And I just was thinking in the back of my head, now I know at this point, everyone hates me, right? Like, I'm the guy you love to hate on the internet. I'm the guy everyone dumps on as a content creator. But I'm like, man, it would be fascinating if out of nowhere, out of the blue, if Stuttering Craig contacted me and asked me to be on his show. Because that would be wild, because I don't go on shows, right? I don't do interviews. I don't do anything. It would be such a cool thing for a guy from my past who, I have a good relationship with. I mean, it's been 10 years since I talked to the guy, but it would be pretty cool if that happened. And then lo and behold, you actually did. And I never thought in my wildest dreams you would have. So what I'd like to preface is that now we're getting to, talking about what happened last year. What actually happened that you reached out to me like that out of the blue after 10 years of no contact?
Yeah, I think that, when Side Scrollers was starting, the show's evolved a little, right? Because it's now a decade later. Right? You can't be doing the same thing that you were doing a decade before and expect success. Evolving live. So, Side Scrollers, the old show used to be it was once a week for 30 minutes, but that was podcast 2006, 2013. Right? It was like,
Craig, your audio is breaking up a little bit, and I don't know if it's your settings or your mic. It kind of sucks. It is breaking up a little bit.
So the long and short of it was and
Uh-oh. Yeah, Craig, we can't hear you now at all for some reason. I don't know what's going on.
it showing that I'm
Yeah, it's still you're breaking up. People are saying if you talk louder, you get closer to the mic. I don't know. It could be sensitivity settings in Discord as well.
Should I get closer to the microphone?
Actually,
Is it better?
that's actually good.
All right, then I will sit right here the entire
Seriously,
time.
that's really good.
Okay, and we'll just hold my microphone up right here. Okay, so when Side Scrollers, when I was like, okay, we got to bring back Side Scrollers, and the idea behind it was, I left the video game space in its entirety for better part, for about a year. I went and I worked in the firearm, and when I left that startup, I looked back at the video game, and I didn't really have a whole lot of intention of ever going back. But I looked back to the video game industry places, like what happened? and that was the origin story for Side. So, the idea of bringing it back was really like there needs to be show needs to come back. And when we first did the show, the idea was we were going to try to mimic it after the old show. And the internet's not the same as it was 10 years. So naturally the show had to shift, and the show has shifted. And it's become more of a live. It's not necessarily a podcast. People do listen to the audio version of the show, but it's more about being there in the live experience, right? So there's always 3 of us, 4 of us, and the 4th person. Chat always has a voice as well. Right. So I just like back at Screw Attack, I knew that just how you got to know Screw Attack through the Video Game Nerd, or people got to know any of the number of partners that we've had throughout the years through Screw Attack. It's always good to grow through association and a whole rising tides aspect. And that was always something from the start. Was I want there to be a base crew, and we'll have guests every day, and it'll be a rotating cast of characters. And that's where it came down. I did a few interviews beforehand, and the idea was, well, I'll just reach out to everybody that I used to know and see if they're interested. So you were brought up, and I had not heard or talked to you in a decade. As you said, I certainly didn't know any of the lore and kind of really anything. I didn't know if you'd seen success on YouTube. I didn't know if you'd seen. I certainly didn't know about the detractor stuff. So that was, when we announced it, when I reached out to you, and you're like, sure, I was like, okay, cool. And the intention was for you to come on and just be a regular guest on the show.
Right.
And keep in mind, I think we're like 2 weeks into the show. I think we launched February 5th. And I think I announced you like the 1st of March, maybe like February 20th or whatever. And when I announced you, and I announced several people on that show, it was like, I remember almost immediately getting emails where like, dude, you sure about that? Like, are you sure? Do you know what's going on? I was like, no, I didn't know, your entire background. So then the flood of communication comes in, and some people are like, you should not have Phil on your show. You should not. And I was like, my thing is communication. I like having conversations, once again, which is why I've reached out to you, in the past about like, hey, well, let's just hash this out. And so naturally, people, they reach out. They're like, do you know this about Phil? Do you know this about Phil? No. And it became very obvious that there was a lot of lore to you and a lot of questions about it that people didn't either were assuming or didn't know the which is why I reached out. And I remember saying like, okay, listen, the intention was to have you on the show, but it's very obvious. Like, we just have this show, do a normal show, and not address the elephant in the room, which is, the fact that you haven't been on the show in a decade, that you have all these questions about mobile games and blah, 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 and all this stuff. Like, then number one, it's a missed opportunity for you. And I don't want to be the guy who just like ignores all these questions, right? Because it's interesting. So that's how it. And I was like, well, then we need to do an interview, and that's how the interview came about, right? And so we did the interview. You gave us 5 hours, which was very nice. I think you probably would have gone longer had everyone not kind of been tired. I mean, talking for 5 hours and doing that for 5 hours was a lot.
Right.
And you told us we were very professional. You really enjoyed the interview. And,
yes.
I remember you saying in particular you wanted to do it again. Like,
right.
Okay, cool.
Okay, hold on, because people are making some very positive suggestions. They're saying if there's anything in your settings that's like noise cancellation or stuff like that, because what's happening is you're talking, and as soon as you stop, it's dropping the next word you say, as if noise cancellation is like kicking in on your mic. That seems to be the issue. I don't think it's actually the distance. It's some kind of a noise cancellation filter, or you know what I mean, like a noise gate.
Yeah, this is weird. Good.
Dio says there is a settings gear icon in the lower left of Discord. If you click on that, there will be a voice and video tab or menu, and then there's an input sensitivity all on the left, and that would fix it.
So if I unclick that, will that be better?
Let's see.
Is that better now?
That sounds great, actually. I think we did it. Thank goodness.
Yeah, that was apparently the culprit here.
All right.
Sensitivity.
We've done it.
F you, Discord. Okay, so that leads us to we do the interview, and
Right. Well,
and I
actually,
think,
let me jump in because I do want to talk a little bit about my perspective going into this interview and the conversations we had. All right, because we want to be transparent about this, and I want to hear your perspective, and I wanted to give my perspective because let's be honest, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. That's what happens in all these situations. Okay, so from my perspective, you contact me out of the blue and you say, I want you to be a guest on the show. And I'm thinking in my head, I've been watching the show and the show has been pretty entertaining. These guests get to kind of showcase their expertise from where they come from. They talk about the topics you're talking about. So it makes them look personable. It makes them look good. And then they get to kind of talk about their brand or whatever they're working on. And for me, I actually was just launching a new channel called dsprects. And the idea was that I was going to try to use this appearance as a way to kind of launch this channel. I had all these ideas for things for the channel and everything. And this is a way to get it out to a new audience. Maybe you're not interested in seeing me play games, but maybe you want to see some kind of React style content, right? So originally I was just supposed to be the guest. And then you said, well, there's an elephant in the room. All these people want me to interview you. And I was like, well, I knew this was coming because you might not realize this, but the year before, a lot of other prominent YouTubers had been talking about me in a very negative light. Okay, one of them was actually Moist Critical. And he had called me out for my grifting, that I was e-begging too much, and how could I do this to my viewers and stuff like that. And when he had done that, I was like, I agree with him, because now when I look back at how I was talking on a particular stream, like I agree with this guy. Like I'm being a miserable wretch. I'm being an ungrateful jerk. I said, but the thing is, if that's the case, right, why don't you ever interview me? Like if everyone has a problem with me and the way I conduct myself or whatever, I would just like to be interviewed and treated like a person rather than yelled at across the internet from their people's high perches. It's kind of like punching down, right? I'm just a little rinky-dink guy, and I got these giant YouTubers talking about me in a negative way. And I had announced the year before, I want to do an interview. Well, of course, who contacts me, who wants to do an interview? All my detractors, all these assholes. And I'm like, you know what? After thinking about it, I don't want to do an interview because they're just going to waste my time. It's just going to be really unfair treatment. So then when you reached out to me and now all of a sudden you're saying, oh, this is going to be an interview, I'm thinking, dude, I know Craig. Craig is a straight guy, he's a straight shooter. He's not going to do anything to screw me during this interview. He's going to hit me with hard questions, and I want him to hit me with hard questions. I think I even had told you that previously when we were talking. I said, you can ask me whatever the heck you want. You might not like the answers.
You said you wanted it to be the definitive DSP interview, right?
Right.
And just to be clear, did I do anything during that interview that was dishonorable, or did I hit you at anything that because like I said, you finished that interview and you thought it was very fair. So
yeah.
Did
I would say there were a few times that things were suspect, but at the same time, it was never outright like, oh, disrespectful gotcha moment or something like that. The one thing everyone's going to say is when Keemstar showed up, right? Now, I don't know how that came about. You know what? Let's clear the air about that right now.
Sure.
How on earth did Keemstar end up in my interview? Because obviously that was a shock. And if you remember how it happened, it was really questionable circumstances. Someone DDoS'd me off the internet. So I couldn't even continue the interview. And as I got DDoS attacked, Keemstar showed up on the show, and everyone's like, what the heck is this? Like, I'm sure this is a coincidence, right? So what actually happened?
Yeah, well, and once again, it's been 18 months, so I'm actually going to go through and I'm going to look through my DMs right now to make sure I'm saying this correctly. But from what I recall, he had, like most people at the time, had reached out via DM, and let me see. I don't like to divulge private conversations, but let me go back as best I possibly can to see. Let's see, we did that on what?
FYI, because I don't know if you know this, Craig. I had Keem on the show last week, and we hashed everything out. We're good.
Cool. Excellent.
So, there's no issue. There's no bad blood between me and him. So it's not like, oh, you're going to divulge something that he's going to be pissed about. Nah, we even talked about the appearance and everything, why he was on the show. So it's all good. I want to hear from your perspective how it came about.
So I think somebody had mentioned the idea of having him on, and I was like, well, if you're watching, then DM me. So he DM'd me, and the idea was like, look, you said beforehand you didn't want to talk with him, right? And I was like, fine, that's fine. Now, you said your internet went out, right? So that was like, okay, well, let's take this opportunity to, we got Phil here. Let's take this opportunity to bring Keem in, right? Because he had DM'd me, and he was like, let's talk. And if you recall, during that interview, like I was attempting to honor your word there. You said you didn't want to talk to Keem. So I went out of my way to be like, listen, we'll only have Keem on if you're okay with it. And the intention and I think I've said this at the time, was to build a bridge, right? Was to build and to think about this, you probably wouldn't have had Keem on last week had we not done that on side scrollers, had it not opened up the communication between the two, right? Maybe,
I disagree. I would have had
okay.
Keem on regardless. I don't think that him being on the interview had anything to do with him being on this show last week.
That's fair. Totally fair. But like I said, I'm just going off assumptions. I don't know.
That's fine. I want to hear your perspective. So this is good. This is good.
So the idea was to build a bridge, right? And whether it worked or not, that's fine. So we had John, and when your internet came back, it was like, okay, I believe, and like I said, been 18 months. I believe we pulled Keem back, brought you back on, and said, hey, we have Keem here. Are you okay with this? Before Keem came back on, right? And the way I like to think of it is probably like it's halftime of a basketball game, right? So you go down to the sideline reporter to talk to the coach, right? Or something along those lines. And you get there, and like Keem being the color commentator at the time to provide, hey, how do you think this is going type of thing, if that's the best analogy that I can give, like off the cuff. But yeah, it wasn't meant to be malicious by any means. And nothing that we've ever done has meant to be malicious towards you. And I've stated that continuously in my communication with you. It's never been meant to be to tear you down or make, as your words, make money off your misery. That's never been an intention at all. So yeah.
Okay. So I understand what you're saying. I get it. But you have to understand that from an outsider's perspective, okay? Even what you just said, a lot of people didn't know. A lot of people didn't know that I had told you beforehand that I didn't want to talk to Keem on this interview. So you've been told ahead of time, I don't want an interaction with this man. Literally, one of my trolls who works at Comcast DDoS's me. I'm serious. This is proven it happened. There's actually evidence now, and the person's been fired. So the troll who works at my ISP DDoS's me to kick me off my own interview. And you bring specifically the guy I told you I don't want any involvement in this interview onto the interview stream. So I think you can understand how that looks, right?
So while you're gone, I'm actually looking at our DMs with right now. He said, let me pop on so when he comes back, he can respond, right? Because I believe, and once again, 18 months, I believe we were talking about Keemstar beforehand, right? So he was broached. The conversation about him was brought up, right? So I'm of the mindset that if I would rather talk with somebody than about somebody, right? And I've said that many, many times on our show, and I say that right now, which is why, once again, I'd much rather talk with you than about you. So I think that was the situation. He said, let me pop in so when he comes back, he can respond, right? And the idea that you said something about Keem then responded, you come back and you can then respond to what Keem said while still keeping you separate, right? But the opportunity was there. It was like, hey, well, look, once again, Keem, you can talk about DSP. DSP, you can talk about Keem. Why don't you just talk to each other right now and hash all this shit out, and everyone's better for it, right? So, if you saw it as like I said, my goal ultimately wasn't to create any distrust or anything. It was more meant to be a positive experience, and hopefully it was.
Okay, so from my perspective, all right, you're absolutely right. So I'm getting DDoS attacked. I come back, and you ask me, hey, Keem's on the show already. Is it okay? Can we have him on? You absolutely did that. I can confirm 100%. I mean, it's already recorded, but yes, you did that. And that's very respectful of you that you did that. And I said yes. In my mind, I'm already desperately trying to get back on the show, because if it looks like I cut out of the show, everyone on the internet is going to say I'm a coward. I ran from the tough questions. So I'm doing everything I can to get back as soon as I can. The moment I get back, he's there. And it's like, I've already been grilled. And this is probably, a very stressful thing going on. I'm sure you could figure out for me. And then to now be presented with the man who I told you specifically I didn't want to talk to on the show. Yeah, it smacked me in the face. And then on top of that, you say, well, is it okay? Now, what if I say no? Again, now that makes me look bad. I look like I'm the guy who doesn't want to play ball, who isn't willing to talk, who's just an obstinate jerk, who just wants to, have it his way. So, of course, I'm going to say yes. Now, in reality, did anything come out of that conversation with Keem? No. What happened was we went back and forth for like 5 minutes. Nothing came of it. And then he plugged his Happy Punch boxing. Okay. Which is really the reason why he was on the show. All All right. That's why he wanted to be on your show, to plug his upcoming content. All right. He
Well,
did want to talk to me for sure. That's true. But he definitely was on the show to plug his content. And that's literally what you allowed him to do, is do an advertisement. Okay.
So, okay, real quick. And once again, it's been 18 months, it's been a year and a half. Maybe my things are a little fuzzy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking through my email and I actually don't see any reference to Keemstar at all in that. So maybe it was mentioned beforehand. I don't know. Maybe I knew there was some sort of beef between you guys or something.
Yeah, we did. We had beef on the internet. And I believe
Right.
at one point, don't know if specifically it was like Keemstar, but I know you had said, you know, is there anyone? I said, I just want it to be us, right? I don't want to have guests coming on and stuff.
Right,
I
right,
want it
right,
to be
right.
our conversation, right? That's what it was supposed to be. So,
Okay, so-
having this guy is shocking that he's in there. Why is he on this interview, right?
Okay. I get it. Right. I get it. So,
Okay.
but with that said, we did finish up and you were totally pleased with things, regardless of if Keem appeared or not.
Mhm.
You were pleased as punch, said you want to do a second time. You know, I said I'd like to do a second time. And to be clear, everything was great. And until the next day, right?
That's right.
Now,
Now to preface this,
mm-hmm.
we had actually, in our discussions about this interview, the discussion was we were going to do this giant, hard-hitting, harsh interview. And then once we got through it, I can't remember the exact wording you used, but basically it was kind of like, let's get through the tough thing, and then let's do the fun thing, right? First, let's do the interview, then let's have you on as the guest as you were intended to be originally, right? That was the whole intention of this thing.
Yep.
So you're absolutely right. After the interview, I jumped on my own personal stream, and I expressed to my audience, listen, I knew it was going to be a rough interview. I knew he was going to ask questions that I wasn't going to be able to provide evidence of my side of it or whatever. And that's fine. I just wanted to have a place where people can see all of my answers, so they'll stop bugging me on my streams about this stuff, because it really had nothing to do with my content. You know, you're talking about mobile games and expenses and shit. It has nothing to do with the broadcasting I'm doing every day of gameplay and stuff like that. I just wanted it to be somewhere else. So I actually was happy that we had covered all of that. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So by the end of that day, 100%. I was okay with how everything had gone down. Even the shocking surprise guest and all that of Keem, you know, whatever. So now I would like to hear your methodology about what happened the next day on your stream, because what you had publicly said, you could correct me if I'm wrong. You had publicly said on Friday, the day after, you were going to do a decompression day where you guys were just going to sit around playing Mario Kart, shooting the shit, and having a fun day. That was the original intention after this crazy interview, but that is definitely not what happened.
Yeah, so you're right. I said we're going to do a decompression stream, and the intention was, you know, and remember, once again, we're a month into the show, and at the time, we actually did test out like Friday gameplay streams, right? We were trying to test those things out. Now, some more context for you. The last time the audience saw Adam is the last time I saw Adam. So Adam left. He went to go have some dinner. So the first time that people saw Adam the next day was when I saw Adam the next day, right? Maybe 60 seconds before we started the show.
Let's clarify. Adam is one of your co-hosts, so people might not know. He's one of your co-hosts on the side scroll.
Yeah,
show.
he was. He's doing his own thing now, which is great. And he just had a kid, and like I'm super stoked for him. And he's welcome to come on the show anytime. Which, by the way, I do think that you and Adam should hash it out as well, right? Okay, so with that said, so the next day we come in and we do a decompression, and really just for the first time have an opportunity to talk about what just happened. Usually this would happen like you did. You know, you left and you went on and did your own decompression stream, right? And so that was our first opportunity to do our decompression stream. Now, Adam thought you were full of shit, right? And he said so in so many words, right? And when, you know, I think that's the thing about the interview, which was really unique, was, you know, I had done a lot of research on you and everything leading up to, based off of, you know, what right or not, what people were saying about you and questions about you.
Well, this is a good point to break off before we get to your Friday stream. So what exact research did you do? Like, who did you talk to? What information were you gathering upon when you went into this interview? Because I think people want to hear your perspective of what your notions were me going into this thing and how it turned out.
Well, I mean, I did talk to pretty much anybody and everybody that I could talk to about you. I mean, let me see if I can find my Google Docs about it, and I can tell you exactly what my research was. But yeah, I went in and made that. But I do want to finish my point here. And
okay, go ahead. Yep.
The idea that I had somewhat of a background. I'd done a couple weeks of research on it, like way more research than you possibly should do for an interview, right?
Mhm.
But my thought was, and I said this before, and I'll say this again, I wanted to treat you with respect. I wanted to treat me with respect, and I wanted to treat the audience with respect, right? And I had a pretty good idea of what the audience was going to look like, right, for this. Here we go. I got this doc right here. Potential DSP questions, right? And this is, it's all various things that we touched on, right?
Now, where did this come from? Was this like you asked people what questions you would want me to ask DSP, and you made a compilation? Is that what this document is?
No, I think a lot of this was just through various DMs and communications, things that people had asked and wanted to know about you. Obviously, the WB Champions thing, the various clips that broader questions. How do you think? Let's see. I'll just go down the list. I've been told not to interview you. Why do you think that is? When you stream, who is streaming, Phil or DSP? What have you done to change the perception from a production standpoint? Right. So, like I said, there's a list of these things.
Right.
And then there's like some of my notes in here, right, where we talk about, I remember one point in particular, we were talking about you've been doing this forever, but you don't have a business plan or a financial plan. People were really hung up about your taxes. So wanted to touch about that. How you spend your money, obviously, with WB Champions, which we can talk about that in a little bit.
So Craig, you have to understand, literally every question you just asked, I mean, just think about it. Every question you just asked is basically like personal stuff. And it's stuff that my detractors would want to know. Okay. So now I'm just telling you from an outside, from your perspective, from an outsider's perspective, or even my perspective, it sounds to me like what you did for 2 weeks is you just said, hey, everyone who doesn't like Phil, contact me and talk to me. I mean, you even had a clip from It's a Gundam, one of the most infamous people who rags on me all the time, as an audio question at the end of the interview.
Papa Gundam, yeah.
What I would like to ask you right now, and I hope that you'll be honest with me.
Sure, I will.
In your efforts to gather information about me for this interview, did you talk to anyone who actually likes me?
Well, I think I was open to talking to anybody who would, but nobody reached out that said they really liked you. And I don't mean that negatively. I mean, I said I was
no, there's a good reason for it, and I'll explain it in a second, but go ahead.
But so with that said, like, when you say you're going to do an interview with somebody and you say, hey, I'm open to talking to all people, if there are people who go out of their way to like you, they didn't reach out to me, right?
Okay.
So your theory of like I only collected things from detractors at the time, it may be right, but once again, it wasn't malicious. These are all things that people were curious about. And you have to admit, Phil, when you're essentially radio silent for a decade and people don't go in and they don't have an opportunity to interview you, it's important to flush those pipes out and just get it all out there, right? It goes back to the elephant in the room, right? When you have this giant elephant that everyone's staring at, if you don't have an opportunity to talk about those things, whether they're personal or not, right? Then they should be addressed, because that is what the DSP lore is all about.
Right.
So, if you did have to use the opposite side of this, the detractor versus the champions for DSP, not a single champion reached out and was like, hey, did you know this? Did you know that Phil donates to charity? Do you know whatever, right? And had they, then we would have. Now, with that said, leading up to this, you also knew what this was going to look like, because you prefaced me. I mean, I have our emails pulled up, and you gave me, sent me ammo saying, hey, this is what I think they're going to ask. And I feel like I've addressed a lot of these things. You sent me videos of you addressing these things. But as you said, you wanted this to be the definitive DSP interview, right?
Right.
So if you want it to be the definitive DSP interview, then naturally I should be listening to everybody who has criticisms of you. And if there is this lore that's attached to it, then I wouldn't be doing my job as the interviewer to do research, good and bad, about the interviewee. Otherwise, it's a fluff piece.
Okay. And fair enough. And I accept that answer. But now I'm going to give you my response. Okay.
Sure.
And you probably don't know this. All right. The reason that my fans don't reach out and get involved in this kind of stuff is because my detractors, okay, those people who you were talking to get questions to ask me, systematically hunt down, harass, dox, and do horrible things to anyone who publicly supports me. Okay. And I'm not just talking like oh, someone was in the chat and said, I like Phil. I mean, they'll try to hunt these people down, find their social media, find where they live, find where they work, call them, harass them, call them pedophiles, do horrible things to them. There's been supporters documented who give me a $100 tip, and then they get hacked and stuff. It's really, really messed up. I mean, case in point, Craig, do you not remember? Maybe you don't remember this. It was like a week or two before the interview. They tried to dox you. You remember that, right? And I told you about it. I said, just so you know, they gave your an address on the internet, and I don't think it's real. And you know, they did it to you. So if they're doing it to you, obviously they're not going to. My fans who like me are not going to speak up in a public venue like that and be like, oh yeah, now I want to talk about Phil. No, they'll watch me. They'll silently support me, as they have done for a very long time. But they're not going to put themselves into the line of fire of these already deranged people. Okay? And you maybe didn't know that. So I got to give you the benefit of the doubt here, that I got to trust you, say that you were doing what you thought was fair. But a lot of people were going into that interview thinking, okay, he's going to ask tough questions. But at the same time, maybe we'll talk a little bit about the positivity about Phil's 16-year history on YouTube. The good old days, or even what's good about what he does today, how he's improved, stuff like that. Like, there was none of that. It was literally just like negative, 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 negative. Now, I told you I was okay with that, all right? But from, again, outsider, they're looking at the situation like Craig just sat around for 2 weeks claiming he did all this research, and all he literally did was talk to the people who hate Phil the most, compiled it into a ball of negativity, and threw it at him. And that's the perception of that interview at this point from those who aren't my detractors, basically. In fact, just to give you another example, Mike Klum, who I was planning on possibly doing a documentary with this year, said to me directly, you realize that Side Scrollers interview was just for your detractors, right? Like, no one else cares. No one else watched it and said, oh, it was literally a detractor interview. And it's all it'll ever be. That's why you should do positive content like a documentary, because you need to have parts of your truthful nature, your personable, personality come out. No one saw that in the interview because it was literally detractor question, detractor question, detractor question.
With all due respect to Mike, do you not think he was just puffing up your chest to try to get you to do a documentary with him?
Of course he was. I mean, let's be honest. Of course he wanted to do a documentary with me. But,
Right.
I mean, from all this nonsense, there's always a little moment of truth, right? And it rings true. That interview, if you watch it back, you don't get to learn anything about me besides all the things people don't like about me. And that sucks, because that's there forever. That's a video that launched you guys into prominence for a while, right? I think you can agree. Can we agree there? Can we just say that interview did give you a launching board to popularity, right? And I'm not saying that anything that came after is a result of me. I'm not. But was that not the piece of content that launched your show into prominence and people wanted to hear from the Side Scrollers?
I think that it raised awareness that Side Scrollers was back, but to think that anybody who watched that, like, I would say, we had, Phil, 2,500 people tuned in live to watch that show, right? We had 3,000 watching our show today, right?
That's right.
Of that 3,000 who watched our show today, how many of those of that 2,500 were there?
Probably zero, because your show today is a different show. It's completely different content.
Well, it's not an interview. It's not about Phil. And I think I recognize that, right? Now, did it raise awareness? Sure. Is it why the show's been successful? No.
And I agree with you there. Your show is taken off, and I want to say kudos and congrats to you for having a very successful show now. I mean, it's blown up, and that's great. But people didn't know about Side Scrollers until my interview. Is that a fair statement to say?
It raised awareness. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But just like our interview with the Tetris CEO, or us talking about Concord or Dustborn or whatever, like, once again, the show was changing we were trying to figure out what the show was. And it took about a year before we figured out what the show was.
Yeah. You remember you were saying on the show, no politics. And now it's like, it's completely flipped. Like, that's mostly what you're talking about these days.
I disagree. I don't think what we talk about is politics at all. I think we talk about the culture of this stuff.
Fair enough. I'm okay. Not hardcore politics. I agree with you there.
Very rarely do we actually talk about Democrats or Republicans or anything like that. No. We talk about the culture associated.
I get it.
Which I think from a video game perspective is way more important than whether a game gets a 7 or an 8 in a score.
Yeah.
And I think that's that's what's limited it. Because at the end of the day, you see a number of the reason why side scrollers is working is and our audience is growing is because we know that there are a bunch of, as we say in our chat, our community is called normal men. They're called normal men for a reason, because there's a bunch of normal men who are looking around going like, yo, what the hell is happening? And this isn't right. This is not normal. And the thing about side scrollers, we do the exact same thing now that we did a decade ago. It's just in a different package, because a decade ago, we were laughing at all the stupid shit that was happening in the video game space. Now there's just way more stupid shit that happens in the video game space that we can talk about it every day. You know, it's the same premise. It's just in a different package. So anyways, with that said, like I said, the show was evolving, the show was changing, and you know, we haven't done like an interview on the show in I'd say almost a year, you know, because the interviews were fine, and they were originally supposed to be a regular weekly part of the show. But once again, it takes a while to figure out what the show is. And now we have a good idea of what the show is, who our audience is, and we're there. Now, once again, did those interviews help raise awareness? Absolutely. But I can't, you know, I'd say it's a chapter of the side scroller story. And just as side scrollers is a chapter of the DSP story.
Sure. I will agree with you on that. The show today has nothing to do with me. I'm not trying to take credit for it whatsoever in that regard. You've done good for yourself, putting it in its new own space, and it stands out. Okay. So getting back to now, because we did get derailed there talking about the beforehand. So the interview happens. All of a sudden, all eyes are on you guys because you did this interview with DSP. Friday is supposed to be a decompression stream with Mario Kart, but instead it turns into something else. So now let's get into this. So what actually went down on that Friday show for you?
Yeah, we went in, we talked about things, and we do what we do every day. We just talked about what's in the news. The difference was that we were the news, and the interview was the news in the sphere. And people wanted to hear our thoughts about it for the first time, and that was the first time we'd got together. So, you know, you listen to your audience, and when the audience says, we want to hear your thoughts about what happened yesterday, you do that. And for us, it was a Friday, so naturally we're gonna talk about it, and then we're gonna give the weekend to decompress, and then we're gonna resume the show on normal on Monday. It doesn't matter if Mario Kart was played or not. The intention was still the same, was to talk about what just happened the day before for the first time, just like you did the day before with the decompression stream. Mm-hmm. Now, was it what you wanted to hear? No. But was it honest? Yes. And honestly, I think that when it comes to the reasons why we were upset was, and specifically Adam was upset, was because he smelt shit, and whenever he'd say it, you know, it was like talking in circles. And I think that there's like a lot of that stemmed from the WWE Champions thing. That's where a lot of the meat came from, right? So we asked you about that several times. You know, we got the runaround on it. We all knew it was the runaround, right? There were, you know, we talked about you sharing your account, and then, you know, and then that didn't happen. And that was when the internet went out and everything associated with that. And so, you know, we were upset about it, right? Because we smelt the shit. And I think that there's like actually like a lot of irony when it comes to this, and that like just was yesterday, I get sent clips to you all the time, and leading up to this especially, you know, where you talked about WWE champions, and you said that, you know, you spent you know, forever lying about it, right? So, so with that said, like, do you think that you know, you admitted to lying about this, right? Do you think that we had a right to be upset because we felt you were lying? We knew you were lying. You admitted to lying. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that we had a right to be upset the next day?
Well, let me put it into these terms. Okay, when a guest is going to be on a show and is going to be interviewed, and they know there's going to be hard-hitting questions, and that was all previously established. All right, we knew all this was going to happen. That's why I agreed to do the interview, because I felt like this is going to be it, the definitive interview or whatever. Okay. Never in my wildest dreams did I expect that the next day after the interview, you were going to do that. You didn't even tell the public you were going to do that. And now, let's be honest here. What actually happened on that Friday show is you talked to my detractors almost the entire show. You were reading all of their contributions as they rolled in. I think some of them were previously from the interview the day before. I want to be fair here. I think there were like leftovers you hadn't shouted out the day before. And then there was a ton of contributions that came in that day from my detractors. So you just sat there reading them. And okay, you're upset with me. You don't believe me. You smell shit. All right. But there's a difference between saying, well, we just did this big interview, we don't believe him, versus actually like actively participating in memes that they have about me. Your entire cast laughed ack on the show, Craig, together, as if this was something funny to do to deride Phil. I was the guest on your show the day before for 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I was on your show and answered hard-hitting questions. You didn't have to believe the answers.
Hold on. Did you answer? Because you
Oh,
didn't.
I did? Oh, indeed I answered. You just didn't like the answers.
Phil, don't flip that on me, because you didn't. You were dishonest with us, and we smelt that.
It's still an answer. It doesn't matter if it's honesty or not. It's still an answer.
Then let me ask you this, Phil. Will you apologize for lying to us? Because that's where a lot of that came from. Is like, we knew you were lying, right?
Okay.
And I gave you an opportunity multiple times. I remember pleading with you, Phil, just come clean on this. And the opportunity was there. And had you just come clean at that instance, everybody would move past this. So I do think that, like, once again, why were we upset, Phil? What's the root of all this? We felt and we knew and we smelt a lie. We smelt it, right? So, and you admitted yesterday to lying to us. So that to me stings, because you're not only lying to me, you're lying to your audience, you're lying to my audience, and you're lying to everybody else. So you should apologize to me and Adam and Travis and Blabs and everybody else who watched that show, because they were expecting the definitive DSP interview, and what they got was lies. That's not definitive, Phil. That's the issue I had with this.
Okay, now since we're getting into the nuance of it now, let's go talk, because the lies you're talking about are WWE champions. That's what we're talking about. Let's hone in on.
But will you apologize though? Because that's
let's hold on. Let's talk. Let's do this. All right. Let's like man to man. Don't demand something from me now. Let's talk like men.
I'm asking.
Okay. If in that interview, all right, I had been honest with you and completely transparent, and I said fessed up to everything, right? Immediately you would have said, "That's great. Prove it." Correct? You would have said, "Prove everything you're saying."
And we gave you the opportunity to.
Okay, now let's be real about this, because I don't want you to lie to the internet about it. I want to be real about this.
I'm not going to lie to the internet. I'm not.
In that interview, all right, you said to me, show me evidence of what stuff you're saying, show me screen captures or whatever. And I'm going to be honest with you. No, I was never going to do that on the fly, because I'm the kind of guy, I want to make sure if I'm going to do something like that, I want to make sure everything's safe. I want to make sure it's correct. I'm not going to send you something just to say it wasn't good enough. I want you to show you the definitive evidence to prove what I'm saying or whatever, okay? So I'm thinking in my head during the interview, because I didn't know you were going to hit me with that. Honestly, I thought you were just going to ask me questions and I was going to answer. I didn't know you were going to say, this is your opportunity to actually clear this up. I never thought you would do that. So when I'm thinking in my head, okay, how can I prove it? How can I do this? How can I do that? I need to get this stuff together for you, right? And you had left the door open. In fact, this is what near the end of the interview, we were talking about this. If you want to, clarify everything, you can send it to me after we're done here. We even left the door open for that, correct? You remember that, right? I'm not making that up. That was correct.
Right. And to be clear, I actually have our emails pulled up.
Sure.
Which if you have those pulled up, I think that you can read your part and I can read my part, just so everybody is on the same page and there's full clarity on all this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I don't need to read them. I know exactly what they say.
Well, I think it's important, just so this is us talking, but
yeah,
we'd be ignorant to say that there's not a couple, few thousand people who once again, this is part of the story of how we got here, right? So I do think it's important, because I don't want to leave any context out. So do you mind if I read our emails after the just our back and forth that we had after, because I think it does provide context to what we're talking about here.
Sure. This is the email that was sent after I got off the show.
Yeah.
Because I believe there was an email then, and then I emailed you again after I'd eaten dinner about, are you available? Are you going to be checking this email box? And that was where we had left it. And then the next day you emailed me something in the morning, correct? That's the chain of events.
Okay. So I haven't, it happened on, I guess we talked March 16th of last year, right? So you emailed me at 8:18 and said, "Hey, Craig, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on how the show went. I really hope that it was a big benefit to you guys. If so, this may have been the only time in history that my infamy has actually helped something. I know you'll want to get back to normalcy, but I'm looking forward to hearing from you again about the possible next appearance. My viewers are telling me that they think that you and Adam were too harsh, but I disagree completely. As I told you on the podcast, you are nothing but fair. But there is pretty much 100% consensus that the Keemstar bit was intrusive, gave him free plugs for his own content, and took away about an hour that should have been more on topic. I didn't mind. I didn't mind, but that's the vibe my viewers are sharing with me. I would likely be best for a repeat appearance to just be us, to avoid people feeling like it was a quote surprise or trick or shock me. How often do you check this email? I'm still 50-50 on showing you my champions account at this point, especially because of what Keemstar said. I feel nobody would believe you even if you vouched for me. But I respect you and still considering it, despite the fact I'm incredibly scared my info will once again leak and hurt me. So that was the email that you sent me at 8:18.
Okay, which was 5:18 my time. Well, actually, I don't know what time zone you are, but it was
Central. So 6:18 your time.
Gotcha. Okay? So it was right after dinner. Correct. Okay. Now I will clarify what was going on. Okay. Now, did you see my show last night where I told the truth about WWE champions for the very first time? Have you seen that at all, or did you just hear about it?
I had a clip sent to me, but okay. I haven't like watched the whole thing. I've watched like 90 seconds of it.
In a nutshell, all right. Yeah, the account was mine. I had it for many years, and after years of harassment by my detractors, I sold the account. Okay. So at the time that we're doing this interview, I don't have access to the account, so I can't prove really anything, right? All I could do is I could show you like a new account, which is the account that I had currently. If you remember, you would ask me straight up in the interview, hey, do you still play WWE Champions? Yes, I do. But it's on this new account. It's not the original account that the detractors knew about and were stalking me for all these years.
No, I don't really care about WWE.
Okay, no fair, but
really
here's
like
I understand, but you have to understand the situation. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying to you, I'm 50-50 on sending it, but if you had said to me, yeah, okay, I'm still open to it, I was going to show you the new account. I was going to try to explain all this to you and say, this is why I can't just on a whim show you everything. It wouldn't have worked. You easily could have said, oh, you made this up. This is a bullshit new account or whatever. Yeah. It's a convoluted story. It is, yeah. Okay? So what was your response to me reaching out to you saying, hey, I have the information. I'm 50-50 on it. What was your response to that?
Yeah. So, and once again, let's make sure we have all references here.
Mm-hmm.
It's you send that March 16th at 18 p.m. So it's evening time for me, right? My morning routine is I wake up and I start prepping for the show, right? So we're live at 11. I'm getting up. I'm getting prepped for everything. I have not checked this email, right? I've not checked this email. And because I told you prior to, in our original correspondence, I don't check this email. I don't check this email very often. Sometimes it'll go weeks before I check the email, right? So this. So you send me that email. The following day, March 17th, I respond at 7:45. That's the next time we have any sort of correspondence.
Is that AM or PM?
That is PM.
Okay.
So it's been about 23 hours.
And you've already done your show for Friday. It's already taken place.
Okay. It is done. So here's my response to you. I said, and I felt like this was a very fair assessment of things. And you could tell me if I'm wrong. I said, hey, Phil, I think the show went okay yesterday. We talked about it at length on today's show as a debrief. I think we all left the interview mentally exhausted and feeling incredibly frustrated as at the end of the day, we want what's best for you, man. The things that are laid out about everything, the WWE mobile games, the bank stuff, etc., it just doesn't make sense, man. There's too much evidence saying it's yours, and your only evidence is just saying it's not. I feel like we gave you multiple opportunities to turn this thing around, but you just seem so dug in. Even in the face of insanely detailed evidence, you wouldn't take it. Even with Keemstar coming on, I tried to lay out the similarities you feel towards him and the way people feel about you based off of things that you've said online. It was tough. Honestly, I'm just disappointed, man. Like I said, I and we want what's best for you, man. We very much do, but you have to want what's best for yourself. When you're ready to take that step, I will gladly help you, man. Help you, man, on your journey. You deserve to get to level 2. I know you can do it, and that's the email that I sent to you, and I think that was very fair. I did not lie to you and be like, "Hey, Phil, it was great. It was spectacular. Can't wait to set up number 2." As I said in the email, we were exhausted from it, and mentally tired from it, physically tired from it, and we talked about that. We talked about that on the following debrief. So, had we done that debrief immediately after the show, chances are we would have said the exact same thing. Probably worse, But you can see in that email, we felt lied to. We felt exhausted, right? And the reality is, Phil, we were lied to, right? So, and self-admittedly, you said we were lied to, and we knew that. So naturally, when somebody lies to you and continues to lies to you, you're going to be upset.
Right.
So we were
Fair
upset.
enough. Okay. So I will confirm everything that Craig just said is true. That is correct, was what was in those emails. I know for a fact that's exactly how it transpired. Okay. So now he said it. I didn't say it. He said it. He literally read the emails word for word. No one can say that I made this up. Okay. So we got to follow the order of events. I'm on your interview. 5 hours, hard-hitting questions. I lie to you about WWE champions. You leave the door open and say, you can send me the information after to clarify all of this. Okay? That was said directly in the interview. You agree to that, right, Craig? You did say that.
Mm-hmm.
I go on my show. I say, that was a good interview. I'm okay with it. I even email you, say, I'm okay with it. I'm 50-50 about sending you the stuff. Do you check your email? You literally just publicly admitted you don't check your email. Right?
Well, in this situation, yeah, it'd been a day. Yeah.
So you ended an interview, the hottest piece of content you had ever made at that point on Side Scrollers. You knew all eyes were on you. You knew people were looking to see if I was going to follow up with you and send you this information. And you decided not to check your email, but instead to do a show ragging on me the next day. Is that a correct statement?
I would say that in between me ending the show, being done with the internet for the day, going to sleep, and waking up the next day and then doing the show, like Phil, as we said at the time, you had one opportunity to send the stuff. It wasn't there, right? You passed on that.
Whoa. Passed on what? You just admitted the door was open to send you the information when I got it together.
During the show, Phil, during the interview.
Craig, we're on an interview and a show. Craig. We're in an interview. The idea of the interview is for me to answer your questions. It's not stop the interview. Let me dig into documents and get you screenshots and things proving it. That's not what the interview was. Never once before the interview did you ever say that's what it was going to be. And like I said, if I'm going to send you something, it has to be sure that it's proving my point. This was a convoluted story. It's not I could just send you a screenshot. I got to try to prove now that I've got a new account and it's not the old account, that I sold the account. This is complicated. It's not something I can just do during the show. I was literally, to be transparent with you now, as I sent you that email, I had everything ready. I told you I was 50-50. I literally had it all ready to go. And all you had to do was check your email and say, I'm here, Phil. I'll check it. And I would have sent it to you and you would have had it. And instead of having a Friday show where all you did was beat me up all day, you would have had the Friday show saying the big reveal. DSP cleared the air. He said he was a liar, but here's the truth. But you didn't check your email. You told me.
Like, what do you want, dude? Like, I'm sorry that I didn't check my email for 23 hours. That's not how people communicate in 2023. And I know that's how you communicated, but like, I didn't check my email for 23 hours. And I'm sorry that I didn't check my email for 23 hours. I apologize for that. Will you apologize for lying?
I apologize for lying, but I don't want your apology that you didn't check your email. I want your apology for being completely disingenuous about everything that happened after the fact, after the interview. That's what I want.
But the thing is, Phil, I don't think we were being disingenuous. Like, I think we were being completely honest with how we felt. You know, like I said, we spent 5 hours talking to you, getting the runaround, man. And like, it was not meant to be like, this was, once again, I go back to the definitive DarksydePhil interview, and it wasn't. So I'm disappointed in that, because there's things that you're telling us now you lied about. We felt it. We knew it was happening in real time. We felt like we were getting gaslit. So naturally, yes, I felt exhausted and tired, and honestly didn't want to deal with it, which is why in that email I said, look, man, we're just disappointed. Like I said, I want what's best for you. We very much do, but you have to want to help yourself. Is lying to us on stream helping yourself? No, of course not. You deserve to get to level 2. I know you can do it. Right?
Craig, what you told me in that email you sent me on Friday, basically, in other words, says we don't actually care what the truth is, because I had the truth and was going to send it to you, and you ignored me.
No, it's not that I ignored you. It's because I didn't check the email. And
that's called ignoring, because you knew that was our line of communication. You asked me to send you the information. I was going to, and you chose not to check it. You actively ignored the way that I could have cleared my name. And then you went on to do a show that made you tons of money defaming me on the internet. That's exactly what happened. And there's no way that you can ever clarify that, because it's in black and white. You just admitted it. You read it. You just admitted it publicly, that you didn't check the line of communication we had, that I could have cleared the whole situation.
Is this like the gotcha? Like,
there's no gotcha. There's no gotcha. Okay. You read it. I actually wasn't going to read the emails. Phil, you did it.
Phil, I don't apologize for not checking my email for 23 hours. I'm an adult with a family and kids, and honestly, I was tired of it, right? The fact that I did check my email on Friday night was fascinatingly amazing that I did that, right? That's a big dub, but I'm sorry that you felt betrayed that I didn't check my email. And once again, there's a big difference between ignoring, because I didn't know the email was there in the first place. You have to know it was there to actively ignore it. I did not actively ignore your email. I didn't know it happened. So I can't ignore something that I didn't know happened.
Craig, in the interview, we ended it with, the door is open. You can send me the information. So you didn't know it happened. Do you need to have a bomb go off when someone sends you the thing you directly asked for? Would you not even in a moment think, hey, maybe he's going to contact me today about this and I should check, you know, because how else am I going to send you these documents anyway, by the way? It has to be an email attachment, right? I can't just call you and give it to you. I didn't have your Discord or anything, right? We were doing it through some other streaming client. So I had to send you an email. All right. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. We can talk about this for the rest of the show.
Allow me to kind of
one more, and then I want to move on, because this is
sure. And that's fine. I'm just going based off of our track record of emailing back and forth. Okay. I'm just looking at how we emailed back and forth leading up to this thing. Right. There's pretty much at least a day between every correspondence that we had. Right. Almost every single time there's at least a day between our correspondence. So based off of our track record of corresponding with each other, I'm not going to go, like I said,
Craig, this is a really bad cope, bro. This is really bad. You're saying, we just ended the interview. You said the door is open, send me the information. And then you just say, well, I'm just not going to check for the information. That's a bad cope. Previously, our correspondence was never a reason for you to check right away. Now you had a reason and you didn't. Instead, you actually did the opposite. Instead of giving me the fair shake, but see if I was going to send you stuff, you went on a show defaming me the entire next day. That's the worst situation possible for you, but you didn't care.
Phil, you got me. I didn't check my email. I'm sorry. Hey, with that said, why do you need me? If you want to put this out there, like, you have an X account, you have a Twitter account, you have social media, you have a YouTube community tab. You can post all this stuff available, right? Like literally right now. You said you have it pulled up. Like you had all this stuff available. It's still got to be on your computer somewhere.
Is this your gotcha moment? You're going to try to get me to post my shit on the internet?
No, Phil, I'm saying is you don't need me. You never did need me, right?
That's actually untrue, because what you don't understand, Craig, because again, you didn't know this, is that any time that I try to defend myself, the detractors move the goalpost. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a little innocuous thing that doesn't matter at all. It could be a big, full-blown lie that I've been doing for years. whenever I try to do something, all right, they move the goalpost. Right now, I could post all the information up and they would say, that's fake. That's not true. So it doesn't matter what I post or what I don't. Now, in the case of you, you had presented yourself as a neutral third party. You were going to be someone who was going to do this interview and be fair, and then you were going to judge for yourself, which actually seems like that's what happened, except you didn't actually give me the opportunity to send you the information to clear my name and tell you what really was going on. Now, whether or not you checked your email or not, it's not a big deal.
I'm sorry I didn't check my email, and I would like to take this moment to apologize to you and apologize to all of your champions, and especially all the detractors for not checking my email for 23 hours. I'm sorry.
Right. Okay, so let's move on from the email because this is going to be so boring if we keep talking about this. And I know that your time is valuable. You said you can only be here for about 90 minutes, right? So probably got another 20 minutes.
I got about another 20 minutes, yeah.
Okay. The next day you do a show. The entire show you're ragging on me, saying you didn't believe me at all. You laugh. Okay, go ahead.
Which you didn't give us reason to.
Okay.
You admitted to yesterday.
Fair enough. You laughed with my detractors. You did all the memes. You got a whole bunch of detractor contributions, correct? That did happen.
Sure.
Okay. Did you continue to do content based on me after this at all?
Not especially. You know, I think there was a I don't remember the context of it, but I remember seeing you said something about us, and I was just kind of like done with it. And I think I went live, and I did what was called a monetize the hater stream. And but I don't remember the context of it. But I remember being like I was done with it, right? That's the thing, Phil. You got to understand. Like we've done almost 400 episodes of Side Scrollers, right? Your interview was one day, right? Now, once again, was it a chapter of the show? Yes, 100%. Do we appreciate it? Yes, 100%. But like we were done. We've turned the page. Just like I don't watch your stuff on a day-to-day basis, just like you don't watch our stuff on a day-to-day basis. I have too much going on to worry about what somebody else is doing online, right? So, you know, you get brought up occasionally, but it's just part of the Side Scrollers chapter in our book at this point. Part of the lore, just like Side Scrollers is a part of yours. So, you know, so yeah, I was pissed. So I went live and honestly, I will like to give credit to to my boy Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers for his, you know, monetize the hater thing. So yeah, I think I went live with a monetize the hater thing and just kind of railed for a little bit because I was tired. I don't remember the context of it. I was just tired of hearing you talk about us. So, you know, it is what it is. Do I regret it? Yeah, kind of. But at the same time, you know, it's just part of what it is.
Okay. All right. I wanted to hear that straight from your mouth that this happened because I was, you know, the truth is, Craig, I don't even know because like you said, I don't watch your content. So I actually don't know the truth of what happens and what doesn't happen. I just hear people saying, are you aware that right now Craig has a stream called Monetize the Haters? He's making money off of your detractors. He's saying that he wants to be on your show. I'm like, what? I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, you know, you're right. That's what it was. You were live. That's right. You were live, and I think you were talking shit about us or something along the lines, and you know, talking about how bad we were to you. And I was like, and this was another thing. We're like, look, I will come on your show right now and do exactly what we're doing. And this was, I don't even know how long ago this was. It was just like, let's just get done with this. And as I've said at the start of this, like, I reached out to you multiple times to do exactly this, to just get through this shit. And I told you, like, I don't care if it's on our channel or on your channel or some other channel, right? Let's just do it. So I was actually glad that you reached out because, you know, I don't think about you a whole lot, Phil, except for when people bring you up to me. And,
fair enough.
And you know, you're upset that people are like, you know, giving super chats because, well, maybe they enjoyed what we do, right? And I'm not going to say like, you know, some people were just excited to see that the interview was done. They were congratulating us for doing the interview.
They don't enjoy what you do. They enjoyed that you were bullying me. That's what it was. You were doing a whole stream, monetize the haters, and you were making money off of making fun of me, which is what everyone else does too.
Bill, why was I live? Because you were talking shit about us.
So, okay, now on my stream, was I sitting there saying, hey, Craig haters, come on the stream and dump on Craig, and let's accept all the donations for everyone who doesn't like Craig. Let's talk about all Craig's dirty laundry on my stream today. Did I ever do that, Craig?
So I don't know. I don't watch your stuff, but you're telling me
no. I never did that. Not once. The only gripes I ever had with you was that how you behaved after the interview. That's literally it. That's the only problem I have with you. I don't have a problem with anything before or during the interview. It was the fact you left the door open for me to contact you. You ignored that line of contact. You did a harmful show. Because you know what? Now I got to talk about this publicly. All right. Are you aware that because you didn't give me the chance to defend myself after the interview, you did a bullying show where you ragged on me and I wasn't there to defend myself against any of that? Do you know how that hurt me and my viewers and my content? You probably don't.
Hold on. Let me just talk about this real quick. Europe, and by the way, this is something that I do want to talk about. You were upset that we went live and talked about this, and you were pissed that you weren't there to defend yourself.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You did a decompression show literally immediately after. You did a decompression show about Keemstar last week, and he wasn't there to defend himself. You did the exact same thing that we do, Phil.
Whoa. You just proved you don't watch my decompression shows. You just proved it. The decompression shows have nothing to do with talking about and ragging on the guest that just appeared. Last week with Keem, I had a whole stream where I said, we are not going to talk bad about this man. Instead, we're just going to talk about the future, building bridges and things like that. We didn't say one negative word about Keem. I didn't accept negative contributions. I told my audience, do not contribute and insult Keem. And they didn't. Because that's wrong. That's capitalizing on an already bad situation. Because now I'm going to talk, Craig. Please let me speak, okay?
Go crazy.
After the interview, I had to cancel a whole fucking show that I had planned that was called DSP Asks It. I had guests lined up to be on this show that I was going to interview. It was a big project that I had lined up for my React channel. I had to cancel it because the guest said, well, after the side scroller's appearance, they really dumped on you. It's not the interview we have issue with. It's the fact that they dumped on you. So now literally everyone who saw your interview thinks you're an asshole. So because of that, we're canceling. So I had to cancel the whole show. My followers came out and said, we didn't mind the interview. I'm not done yet. Okay. Let me finish.
Okay.
After the interview, my followers said, we don't care about the interview. We care that they ragged on you after. Now it makes you look like an asshole. Now that makes us look like an asshole. We all want to be your fans, but how can we do it when the entire interview hates you now? Right? And you don't understand. What you thought you were doing was decompression. Let's just be honest. But what you did is you gave more avenue for the people who already hated me to hate more. All you did was you gave a public grandstanding spectacle to my detractors. And the worst part about it, Craig, you publicly monetized it. You monetized bullying. That's the problem with what you did the day after. You hurt my business. You hurt my followers. You hurt me. You owe me an apology for that. I don't care about you not checking the interview. The email. I care about the fact that you not once, but then again later down the line, monetized hate against me. I literally never monetized hate against you ever. Ever.
Sure about that, Phil? You've never once monetized your hate against us? You never talked poorly about side scrollers?
Oh, I absolutely talked poorly about you, but I certainly didn't have entire shows based around it, inviting all of your detractors. Because you want to know something, Craig? They contacted me about this show. They said, here's all the dirt on Craig. And you know what I told them? This is the truth, Craig. I said, fuck you. I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm better than that. I'm not going to talk about Craig's dirty laundry because that's not what this is about. I could have easily been doing that all along. Everyone has skeletons in the closet. We all know this, but I'm never going to be like that. I want to build bridges. I don't want to burn them. All right. At the end of this conversation today, I don't want to be at your throat. I don't want you to hate me. I just want us to be at peace. Even if we never speak again, I just want us to be at peace. I'm tired of this internet drama bullshit. But you hurt me bad with your behavior after that interview, and I want you to understand how bad it was for me. I had to hide for a year. And now to just show you, Craig, how different it could have been, did you see my appearance on Kino Casino recently and how different that went?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Kino Casino is a show over on Kick. They had me on. We joked about everything. We joked about WWE champions ever. We made a big laugh about it. But they also treated me like a respectful human. They didn't monetize hate against me. We had fun conversation. We watched video clips. We laughed. You want to know what it was? I was a guest on their show. Like I was supposed to be a guest on your show, but never happened because we did the interview. You want to know what happened? Public opinion has changed, Craig. You may not realize this. Right now, people
This
like
is
me
this
for the
is
first time in
DSP
ages.
redemption arc, right?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Well,
Because
so
they gave me a chance. Because they didn't rag on me. They didn't bully me. They were bullying me. But once I personally talked to them nicely and I say, hey, just have me as a guest, they, whoa, what the hell? So everything they say about you is, actually isn't true. Well, not all of it. But the thing is that being treated kindly instead of being bullied and being monetizing the bullying led me to a redemption arc where now I'm finally fessing up to all the stuff I've done wrong, and it's all changing for the better, right? That
Phil, you
could have
had
happened with your interview, but
you
that's
had
not what you did.
We gave you an opportunity to fess up during the interview, Phil.
Which I couldn't do because I couldn't prove it during the interview. I had to get the information together, and I was going to do that, and you didn't give me the opportunity.
Well, no. Did you have any of that information available when you talked about this yesterday? All you did was you just talked. That's it. So all you needed to do 18 months ago was just talk, just like you did yesterday on your show.
No,
right?
whoa. Now you're moving the goalpost. So first it was, the only way anyone was going to believe you is if you sent me all the documentation during the show.
Well,
now you're saying I could have just said whatever.
I'll give you this. But I will give you that, right? Documentation would have helped your case 100%. With that said, Phil, like just you saying, yeah, I played WWE champions. Yeah. My name was this, whatever it was, right? And just saying those things, yeah, absolutely. That would have gone so far, right? And I feel like we extended the olive branch many times during that interview, right? And once again, you left that interview feeling good. Your point of contention is that after the show, we spoke honestly about our frustrations. Once again, why were we frustrated, Phil? Because we felt lied to, which was validated yesterday, literally yesterday. Later on, did I do a monetize the hater stream? 100%. Why? Because you were talking shit about me, right? We've never gone out of our way to go off and say, hey, it's time to dump on Phil because it's fun to dump on Phil, right? We dumped because we were pissed at the time. The result of the interview, we felt lied to, once again, validated, and you were talking shit. So naturally it was like, hey, and the idea of going live there was, let's go on Phil's show and hash it out like we're doing now. So look, Phil, I mean this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you were hurt. I'm sorry that your community was hurt. And I'm sorry that you felt that way for a long time. That's why I'm on this show. I want to help you close the door with this chapter, right? I'm not your enemy. In fact, I've been your biggest champion. I've gone out of your way, as in that email. I want to help you get to level 2, whatever that looks like, right? I've said that continuously in every single email correspondence we've had. I've said, hey, I want to let you know, let's get together, let's hash this out, let's move forward, right? Every single time, even when it comes to inviting you on the show, our 1-year anniversary. Hey, Phil, come on the show. Nothing serious. Let's just come on. It'd be fun. People would have it on. Hey, Phil, do you want Street Fighter 6 is coming out? You want to help hash this out? Let's just hash it out. Let's talk it out. It'd be a great way to build a bridge, which once again, that's something that you want to do. Listen, if we want to go with the build a bridge metaphor, I put down lots of wood over the last 18 months trying to build a bridge. And every single time the email wasn't responded to, or maybe you didn't check your email. I don't know, right?
I did check the email. It's just there's no way I'm going to be playing Street Fighter with a guy who doesn't play Street Fighter, where I'm not going to benefit from it whatsoever. You will, because you're going to get another boost from my appearance on your show playing Street Fighter. I'm not going to get a boost from that.
Phil, we could have done it on your channel. That's the thing. You didn't even respond. But isn't that the fun of it? The idea that you play Street Fighter 6, you lay into me for fucking 9 matches. You destroy me. You're the definitive champ. And all of a sudden, the king is back.
Nobody cares about that, Craig. No one cares about you playing Street Fighter. What are you talking about?
But they care about us getting together. And Street Fighter is the conduit to do that. That's what I'm getting at. Move past the idea of Street Fighter 6, Phil. It's bigger than Street Fighter 6. The idea was just get together.
Oh my goodness. All right. Here's the thing. You just apologized to me because I was hurt. I want you to apologize to me because you did it, because you know it was wrong.
I don't think it was wrong because like I said, yesterday, as you said yesterday, you lied to us. You lied to us. We felt that lie. We knew it was a lie. Look, was it reactionary? 100%. I'll say yes. It was wrong in that it was reactionary with the monetize the hate stream, right? That was a reactionary thing. Am I proud of it? No, right? And you know what, Phil? I'm going to do you one better. Give me a charity of your choice. Give me a charity of your choice. I will donate the that day on that stream, we made $633.08. I will donate $633.08 to a charity of your choice.
Craig,
if that will help close the book.
If you actually cared about anything that you're saying right now, you already would have donated that money. So you can do with it however you want. But the fact is, you have done absolutely nothing in this appearance to show any kind of responsibility or remorse for the things that you did regarding me, my community, or my reputation after the interview. And you've publicly admitted you didn't check the avenue that you could have gotten actual evidence of what I was going to tell you about the truth. So
I did not check the email.
So I don't really know I can help you anymore at this point. You know, it's like I've been saying to everyone recently. What's happened in the last month and a half is pretty remarkable. All right. Basically, everyone for the last like 10 years who really like messed with me and cheated on me, it's kind of all coming back. Karma, you know. Now, in your case, you're definitely not egregious. Okay. I want you to understand something. After today, I have no grudge against you whatsoever. All right. I'm going to act like none of this ever happened. Really, I mean it too. I'm going to act like none of this ever happened. We're just going to move on with our life. You're going in one direction. I'm going in another direction. All right. But you have to understand that, like, when you have a platform, you have a responsibility to be responsible with that platform. If you were going to have the big definitive DarksydePhil interview, and even if you thought I had lied the entire interview, which I did about WWE champions, that's what I lied about. Okay. You still have a responsibility after the fact to follow up. That's what you didn't do. You actually didn't do the most important part. What you did was the equivalent of if, let's say, Barbara Walters was going to interview a big prominent person. I don't know. We're going to make this up. Barbara Walters was interviewing Donald Trump, okay? And she does an interview with Donald Trump, and she hits him with all the hard-hitting questions, and he answers with bluster and everything. And a lot of people don't believe Donald Trump or whatever. The next day, she goes on a public appearance where she literally says, I don't believe a word Donald Trump said. He's an asshole. He's a piece of shit. I don't like his hair. I don't like this. And then as she was doing it, all the sponsors of Democratic causes are sending money to the show because, oh, this is great. She's ragging on Donald Trump, who we don't like. That's literally what you did. That's not integrity. That's bullying for profit. All right.
No.
And the fact that you can't admit that you did this, you say you're sorry it hurt me, but you're not sorry you did it. That just, it speaks to your character. I didn't have to do anything. You literally just did it to yourself on the show. And that's the thing. I didn't have to monetize hate against you at all. You did it to yourself. And I'm not going to monetize hate against you ever. It's not going to happen. There's not going to be a decompression stream after this where we shit on you at all. Because I don't have anything else to say once you're off this show. It's done. You did it. You did it yourself, my friend.
Just to be clear. So when Barbara Walters, who is dead, interviews Donald Trump, I think she's whatever. When
she passed away. Rest in peace. Okay. She was a great interviewer.
So she has this interview with Donald Trump. Is she not allowed to talk about it afterwards?
Oh, she could talk about it, but she's not allowed to monetize hatred toward the person she just interviewed. And here's why. Here's why. No. Let me clarify why. Because if you're the interviewer, you're supposed to be fair and impartial, correct? During the interview. You were during the interview. Okay. But then, if that interviewer immediately discredits the person they just interviewed, there's not one fucking person who's going to go back and watch the interview with a fair take and a subjective glance at it and say, okay, so I will judge for myself if he told the truth. Okay. No one who watched the interview gave me that shot because you literally after the interview said, he's a bold-faced piece of shit liar. Let's laugh at him with his detractors. Ha 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 ha. Ack. Okay. So your interview originally was meant to be fair and balanced, and it became a hit piece because of what you did after. And I don't think you've ever really consciously known that, but it is. It's a giant hit piece against me, and it always will be.
Phil, you did it to yourself, man. You had an opportunity with all this. If it's a hit piece, it's your words. Your words.
I was going to send you everything you asked for.
You had a chance to talk.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. You said with your own words, you thought it was a very fair interview, right?
Yes.
If people look back on that interview, right, and they are upset about the interview, it's because of the response that you gave. Nobody's going back and watching the monetize the hate stream, or no one's going back and watching the decompression stream. What they're watching is the DSP interview. And if they're upset about something that happened, or if they have If they think a certain way about you or me or Adam because of that stream, it's based off of the conversation that we had then, and not based around anything that happened afterwards, right? That's the main point of contact that people are watching. So look, you can try to put the noose around my neck all you want, right? And that's fine. Go ahead. If that's what makes you feel better, that's fine. But ultimately, Phil, it's your words. It was your lies that you told that led to the ultimate distrust with this stuff, Phil. And look, I'm sorry, man. Like, I hope that you can move past this. I hope that we have an opportunity to work together again in the future. I do. I genuinely do. Because I do think at your core, I do think that you are a good guy who just wants to play games and make positive content, right? And you know what? I think that's extremely admirable. But you can't be upset when we talk about something and somebody super chats about it, right? I'm sorry that happened. And I'm sorry that your detractors gave us money, right? But you know what? It's going to happen again. It happened today. Somebody super chatted $2, saying, "Hey, did you hear about this?" Should I give that $1.40 back? Right? Like, I don't know how to handle that, Phil. And I'm not going to apologize for people who gave us money because they felt we either did a good job or we felt like we missed something, or did you hear about this? I'm not going to apologize for that. I told you I will gladly give that money to a charity, right? And I'll give it to a charity in your name, right?
Great.
But if you don't want that, that's fine, and that's totally okay.
I'm speechless. You actually think that giving that money to a charity a year and a half later is going to somehow make you look good or something? Like, what are you talking about?
No. I hope that I could care less. What I care about is helping you move on, because you clearly are clinging on to this, right? And like I said, I'm sorry that this happened, right? But I'm not sorry for the words that you said, right? Once again, if somebody feels a certain way about you, it's based off your actions, right? I'm live 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. People see me, they know me by now, right? I've been doing this for almost 20 years. So people have a pretty good idea of me and my character. And for you to attack my character, I mean this with all due respect, Phil. Go fuck yourself, because you don't know. I've gone out of my way, Phil, to treat you with respect via email the entire time. I've gone out of my way to treat you with respect and be courteous to you continuously. And I'm sorry that you're upset that I didn't check my email for 23 hours. I'm sorry for that. And I'm sorry that I was pissed that you were talking shit about me, right? But I hope we can move past this. I really do. And I hope that this helps you turn the page. Will it do it? Probably not. But one thing that I do really hope is I hope that people don't send you super chats in regards to me. But no, I hope people send you lots of money in regards to me. I'll be the first one talking about myself. And I'll send you a super chat momentarily here in just a few minutes.
I don't want you to send me any super chat, Craig.
But I want to.
Well, I can't stop you. If you really have to do it, I mean, I can't stop you from doing it. I don't want any money from you. I don't want anything from you. Really, at this point. Like, you literally, in a situation here where we were being completely cordial, you just told me to go fuck myself publicly on the stream. You realize that, right?
Why?
I didn't do it. You did.
Why? Because you attacked my
No, not why. You did it. We were being cordial. I just had an entire show with Keem last week, and I have way more gripes with Keem than I have with you, and that never happened.
Did you attack Keem's character?
Oh, yeah, of course I did. And he went back at me, and we went back and forth, and we hashed it out. Yeah.
Listen, then Keem should have told you to go fuck yourself.
All right, so there you go. Folks, there you have it. There you have it. Night and day. I mean, you can't, that's all. I mean, really, honestly. But we're over. I'm sorry. I'll apologize for two things. I'll apologize, number one, that I did lie to you during the interview.
Which that was wrong. Led to everything we're talking about.
That was wrong. And number two, I apologize to the public that I lied for so many years, but I already did that last night on my own show, so they already know about that. All right? And I'll apologize to you now because we're taking too much of your time, and I know you got to get going. All right?
So let me close with this.
You close, and then I'll close, and we'll be good. Okay. You close first.
I want you to really think about your actions here, right? Think about this logically. Please do. Why were we pissed the next day? Why? I'm asking you. Why were we pissed?
Oh, you want me to answer?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds to me like you wanted me to come clean on your show and get a really great piece of content out of it because it was going to be the definitive time when DSP admits to everything that everyone's been saying that he's been doing for so long. And when I didn't do that, you basically had a nothing burger of an interview, 5 hours of a nothing burger of an interview. But it was good for my detractors. They wanted to crap on me, so it was a good piece for them, but you didn't have anything for anyone else. So it didn't give you what you were looking for in the product. That was the problem. You were really hoping you were going to get the big confession. That's why you kept putting me on the spot about send me the screenshot, when we had never discussed that before the interview. You didn't get it. So you got upset about it. And that's why you didn't check your email, because you couldn't get the moment anymore in the interview. You thought you had wasted 5 hours of your time. And what you said was, well, now I'm going to get him back for that tomorrow. I'll make that money in this nice destruction show that we'll do on Friday. That's actually what happened.
You're wrong about all that.
Okay,
right?
Fair enough. But you asked me for my opinion, so there's you go.
Sure. And that also tells me where your head's at. We were mad because we were lied to. Had you not lied, none of this would have happened. If you were just clear and honest with us, like you've been like you were yesterday, everything, none of this would have happened. We could have moved on. It would have been like, yeah, did we think it was full of shit? That's fine. And would the Friday stream have happened the way it did? Probably not. Right? Would the monetize the hater stream have happened? Probably not. Because if you just were honest from the start, none of this would have happened. So you can point the finger at me all day long. But at the end of the day, Phil, what's the old saying? You still got 3 more pointing back, right? Back at you. So look, I'll take my responsibility. I hope you look within yourself and you take some responsibility in this as well, right? And that's fine. I do hope that we can eventually work together in the future in some way, shape, or form. Maybe you come on Side Scrollers and we do a regular show. If you don't want to deal with a politics-driven show that isn't whatever you said, right? You were extremely nice with your words, and by nice I'm being sarcastic right now. And when you told us to go fuck ourselves and all that stuff, so I would like to give you a fair shake someday on Side Scrollers if you're open to it. Like I said, I want to make sure that you and everybody else knows that I am open to working with you in some way, shape, or form. But I hope more than anything, I hope you're honest, not just with your audience, but with yourself about the situation. I appreciate your time today, Phil. I got some dad duties I got to get done. Thank you guys very much for your time.
All right. Now hold on. Before you go, let me say my piece too. All right.
Sure.
Well, it'll be quick. I promise.
Yeah.
This is it. This is the end. There's no more feud between you and me. Do you agree? That's it. We're done. We can stop going at each other's throats.
Phil, I haven't had a feud with you for 18 months, man.
That's fine. Okay, whatever you say, monetize the haters, but you don't have a feud with me. You want me to play Street Fighter with you. You don't have a feud with me. You want me back as a guest on your anniversary show because you know it's going to bring you hype and attention from my detractors, but you don't have a feud with me. Okay? But okay, fair enough. You don't have a feud, but we're agreeing to this now. It's over, right? We're done. Yeah, we're good.
It's over. Yeah.
Okay. So, and you were asking me now, a year and a half later, will I be a guest on your show? Which was what originally was agreed to, correct? Like, that's what you're saying. It was originally, that was the agreement. We were going to do the interview. And then after that, I was going to have the opportunity to be a regular guest on your show like everyone else had been, correct? Right. That was the agreement.
And after the interview, I sent you that email saying, like, we were just disappointed, right? And the offer wasn't there anymore after the interview because we felt lied to.
Okay, so now,
with that said, I hope we can move past it.
That's what I'm saying. Now that we've hashed it all out, right? We're all good. You're saying you're extending that olive branch, and you're saying that that opportunity is there again, possibly. Not a lock-in, but it's possible that I could be on your show.
Sure.
Okay, I'm not interested. Go fuck yourself. Okay. All right, guys. So that is the appearance of Stuttering Craig on the Level 1 podcast. I hope that you all enjoyed it very, very much. It was a good one, right? I hope that, all right. For those who watched the interview, thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm going to be right back live on the stream. Okay? So let's do that. I'll literally be right back live on the stream with the decompression. All right? I'll be right back, everybody.
Typically helps me more than anything.